We are to comfort one another with the hope we have in Christ Jesus in 1 Thessalonians 4:18. And so we are to comfort one another. We might be going through some things in our own lives, some suffering that we're going through as a family, maybe the passing of someone so dear to our hearts, and maybe you and your spouse are struggling through some things in your life, or maybe as an individual, as a single person, that you've been going through some suffering in your life. You know, some things that the doctor has said that it doesn't look good, you know, and you've been struggling with those things, and yet you need to be comforted. Well, God brings somebody to comfort you because God knows that that person that he just brought into your life went through the same thing that you're going through today. And that's why the things that we go through today, God allows us to go through those things so that we are able to comfort somebody else that is going to go through the same problem that you are facing today. That's why it's important that we comfort one another. Comfort one another with the hope in Christ Jesus. So we are to comfort one another, but yet also we are to edify one another. Edify, meaning to build up. And that word edify in the Greek is the word oikodomio, which means to build a house, erect a building, or to build up from the foundation. In a Christian term, is to promote or to grow in wisdom, affection, grace, virtue, holiness, and blessedness. What this means is that we are to build up each other. And it starts from a foundation that Christ has laid. And Paul says in 1 Corinthians, that he has laid a foundation. Now that foundation is Christ. And so we build upon that foundation so that we are able to encourage each other and to build up one another in faith, giving them wisdom, giving them love and affection and the grace of God, and to be able to live our life in holiness and the blessedness that God has brought forth in our lives. We are called to build up, to promote wisdom, love and grace, and holiness for one another in the Lord. That's why it's important for us to edify, to build up. It's not very encouraging or edifying, when you come home and somebody says something to you, or maybe even at your workplace, that they will say something to you that is not even true. Man, that your whole day just went down the tube. But imagine when somebody, you walk into the door and somebody says something great, about you. Just a little word. That word will go a long way. Very encouraging. And I think for us as Christians, the Lord reminds us that we are to practice this with one another. This is part of preparation that we are to practice every day by just saying something edifying, something to build up, something encouraging, to each other. Because we don't want to keep going around, our workplace or at home with our head down going, woe is me. How many of us have said that in a while? It's important that we build up, promote wisdom, promote love and grace and mercy, and living in holiness, one with another unto the Lord. And this is a goal that we are to aim to pursue in the church of God today. It's to help build each other up, as Paul reminds us in Romans chapter 14:19, and also in chapter 15, verse 2. It's a goal for us to aim to pursue. See, if we don't have a goal, we're never going to aim for anything. We're never going to hit the mark if we don't have a goal. We need to have a goal that we aim to pursue so that we are able to accomplish all that God has in store for us. Which is why Paul in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11 and 12 and 15 and 16, he said the primary work of the church is edification. The primary work of the church is edification. It's for us as a church to build up each other. It's for us as a church to encourage one another. It's for us as a church to push people to a relationship with Christ and for them to grow in their faith so that they continue to grow in their faith every day. When you become a Christian, as a young Christian, somehow somebody will tell you, just read the book of John. How many times has somebody told us that when we first became a Christian? So where do I start? Read the book of John. But that's it. But see, for us as seasoned Christian, we need to get behind those young Christians and counsel them, disciple them. Give the time to them to help them grow in their faith. They can't grow on their own.